Thank you so much. When I was a lawyer, no one ever stood for me when I was announced. This is a big change for the better. I usually write my own remarks. There's only one part of the remarks that I ask someone else to prepare, and that's the first paragraph, which has the introductions of the dignitaries. So you'll be interested to note that the only name I have to recognize as a dignitary is somebody who's not here. Instead, though, I see both at my table and elsewhere so many great people, so many Chavrei Knesset, and it's appropriate that you're here because you're honoring a great man and you're honoring a great organization. About 2 years ago, something happened that was somewhere in the nature of incredible, improbable, unlikely, I would say miraculous might be something people in this room might agree with. Donald Trump became the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party, and I was given the privilege of being one of his two advisors on issues relating to Israel. And then shortly thereafter, we had the opportunity to start thinking about the Republican National Convention and what the platform might look like. And everyone said to me, you got to meet Alan Clemens. Alan Clemens is the guy that really is the most up to speed on this. He's been working on it the longest. He's the most committed. And I had never heard of him before. And I started looking into him, and people said to me, well, he's from South Carolina. Well, that was a huge vote of confidence because South Carolina, as we all know, has the most pro-Israel supporters per capita than any other state in the United States, and we're very grateful for that. I learned about his incredible efforts fighting the BDS movement, how much of a supporter of Israel he was, and how much of a supporter he was of, at that point, nominee Trump. And we met a few times, and we started working together on the platform of the Republican National Committee. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. People don't typically read these things much after the conventions. But this one's worth reading because it is far and away, without peer, the most pro-Israel platform in the history of either party. And what was what was the most special of that was when the platform was being enacted by the platform committee, which is a relatively large committee. There are, as you can imagine, many issues and planks in the platform. And when it got to the issue on Israel, on the recognition of Jerusalem, on the right of the Jewish people to live in the land of Israel, when that passed, and it passed unanimously, it was the only plank of the platform for which people got up and applauded. And some people even stood up and cried. And it was such a spontaneous and heartwarming and heartfelt expression of the love of the people who worked on that platform, at the very forefront of whom was Alan, their love and commitment and devotion to the state of Israel. It's a moment I will never forget, and it came at a time long before I ever imagined that I'd be standing in this position. So Alan Clemens deserves all the credit in the world for being there at the beginning when there were very few others that were joining with us in this quest. And he saw through all the way to the end, and look where we are today. Alan, yasher koach. So last year I had the honor to do something that had never been done before. In May of last year, I had the opportunity to host the very first Israel Independence Day celebration in the White House, the very first celebration of Yom HaAtzmaut. It took us 69 years to get there, but we got there. And that started us moving in the right direction. And from there, I had the opportunity to be involved in another first, to be the first U.S. ambassador to the United States to attend Israel's state celebration for Yom Yerushalayim. And then the very next day, the President of the United States arrived to visit the state of Israel, and he became the very first sitting president in history to visit the Kotel Hamaravi, to visit the Western Wall. And of course, many of you had the opportunity, it was just last month, I'm very bad at this point keeping track of time, but last month to hear that historic address by Vice President Pence at the Knesset. And what I'll do is mimic his words, if you will, Shechianu, V'kiyamanu, V'kiyanu Osman Hazeh. Now, of course, all of those events pale by comparison to the historic. And you know, in politics, people like to think everything they do is historic. Probably the most overused word in the political arena. But I don't think anybody would question me that it was undoubtedly historic for President Donald Trump to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And I don't know if you, had the opportunity to see the interview of the president this past week in Yisrael Hayom. It was published this past Sunday, both in English and Hebrew. And the reporter asked the president, well, how did it go your first year? And the president, I think, justifiably said, we accomplished a lot more than we thought. This is a president who has accomplished tax reform. He achieved energy independence for the United States. He began to rebuild the military, so he had a lot to be proud of. And when he was asked, of all the things he did in the first year of office, what was the most memorable? Without hesitation, he said, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So we're now at a point after a year where the White House and the government are starting to become more populated with people who support the state of Israel, in ways that certainly haven't been done in quite some time. But I want everybody to understand, I appreciate the accolades, but everyone should understand, we all work for one person. We all take our marching orders from the president. So the decision on Jerusalem, the decision on expanding and increasing the ties between Israel and the United States, the decision to increase the funding of Israel's military, the decision to support Israel in its ability to defend itself against the adventures and the incursions of Iran or Hezbollah. All of this comes from the top, and it comes from President Trump, and I'll tell you, we all owe him a tremendous debt of gratitude. I want to, with your permission, close. I'm off after this to the New Year's celebration for the city of Jerusalem. That I understand we're in the middle of February, but this is Israel, and we don't always keep to it. We're not bound by precise schedules. So I have to head over to City Hall. I want to ask all of you, if you will, as you offer your prayers for Israel, have in mind, please, the two pilots who ejected this past Saturday from their aircraft. They're doing, thank God, much better, but I'm sure they would appreciate us thinking about them. The last thing I want to say is that it takes people like you to really foster the relationship we have we as Americans have with the State of Israel. As I said, it comes from the President, but the President himself takes his orders from the people. And to have a group like this, many of whom not Jewish, who support Israel the way you do, who see that America will be blessed when Israel is blessed, who understand that when we as a nation support the State of Israel, when we share their values, when we support them, we're not just helping Israel, we're helping America. It is a quintessential value of being an American to support the State of Israel. And no American should ever apologize or feel guilty for being a supporter of the State of Israel. Great organizations like yours and great leadership from people like Alan are what makes this relationship so great. I want to wish all of you continued success. I hope we meet together in Israel, in the holy city of Jerusalem, many more times in the future. Please stay in touch, and may God bless you, the State of Israel, and the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador. We're so honored to have you and your leadership here. And we thank Donald Trump for his steadfast support of the State of Israel. We're all going to meet at David Friedman's house when they open up the embassy next year for a big celebration, so we can thank him for that as well. Thank you. I want to also recognize a couple more members of Knesset who've come in. Oh, well, maybe I'll give a chance for the picture first. I want to recognize a couple more members of Knesset who've joined us right now. There we have member of Knesset Yehuda Glick from the Likud Party. He's here with us. We have member of Knesset Chilik Bar. Chilik, if you can just wave with us. He's the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament of Israel. And we're just really honored to have so many members of